everybody, it's Dayna Martin, community producer for Anarchapulco, and I am here today with Mark Passio. Mark is presenting at Anarchapulco this year, and we're so happy to have you back, Mark. Thanks for being here.
Dayna, thanks so much for conducting the interview. It's going to be really great coming back to Anarchapulco in 2019.
Yeah, this is your second year back, right?
Yes. Last year was my first year that I spoke at the conference, and we made it happen again this year. I'm really excited about it.
I'm so glad to have you back. I remember last year, so many people were talking about your workshop. I hadn't really heard about you before. Yeah. It was like probably one of the biggest talked about workshops after the event. So I was so excited to have you back and learn more about you. So why don't you just tell people that don't know who you are, because probably half the attendees have never heard of you before, because we have like over 2,000 people coming this year. Share who you are and maybe how you started on this path.
Well, that's a very, very long story in and of itself, but I'll get into it a little bit. For those who don't know my background, I always tell people I just came from sort of a normal family in Philadelphia, what you would normally expect in a South Philadelphia household, Roman Catholic family background, people who really didn't rock the boat too much, who just kind of just went along, to get along and, followed organized religion and, believed that, the government was looking out for people's best interests and, send your kids to school, make them do really, really well in school, inspire them to do well, and they'll get a good paying job and go into the workforce and have a good family and et cetera. The typical, American fantasy story, American dream, livelihood. And, not really people who thought outside the box too much. Now, certainly not to say that made them immoral people on its face, but they didn't really question what you might call the generally received reality as put out there by people who are really socially engineering the entire society. There was a very group dynamic, a very groupthink, organized, structured dynamic that spread throughout society. No matter where I went, there were people who were involved in this level of occultism, which was to organize society in a way that would bring them, and only them, the optimum amount of power, knowledge, and freedom, and everybody else would live under their thumb. Everyone else would become slaves to this class of initiated individuals who are initiated into deep levels of knowledge regarding human psychology and deep levels of knowledge regarding the actual way that nature itself works, the way that the universe itself works. And when I recognized that all of these people from different eclectic walks of life and in very high-level positions of power and influence in our society, we're all working together toward that common goal of basically creating a master and slave class in our entire world. That's when it hit me like a freight train that I am involved in something that is way beyond my initial perceived understanding of it. And I was in what I would consider way over my head and did not want to be involved at a level of something that was being organized deliberately to do something so sinister as to institute worldwide slavery. And that's as radically and as accurately as I can put it. That is their goal. That is what they were attempting to do. So upon recognizing that, see, what they're trying to do is they're trying to find people that are okay with that and want to be the master class. Okay, that's what the entire vetting system of dark occultism is. It is there to find the psychopathic among us, those who are psychopathic enough to want to rule over their fellow men and women and to want to institute a version of worldwide totalitarianism, that they are the party members that rule over other people inside in that inner circle. Now, I just got a peek, behind the curtain of the Wizard of Oz, so to speak, and now I have to really understand how the world came to be this way. What is the underlying psychological dynamic that's driving this, and that is not making any headway into turning it around. So that's what I felt was my job, is to explain it in a way that people can understand and then bring the solution forward as well. And the solution that I came to understand was natural law, which is the heart and soul of my work with what on earth is happening. And that is the real key to all of this, the key to unlocking all of this and to creating a free society. What the bulk and remainder of the difficulty in my work is getting that understanding out to people who do say that they want to live in a free and voluntary society, because many people have identified that control is the problem and that freedom is the solution. But the dynamic that exists in between those two states is the paradigm shift in consciousness that has to take place. What are the requirements for creating that world of freedom? And it involves a drastically different way of thinking than most people who even say now that, yes, we don't want a world of slavery, we want a world of freedom. Think. It's a drastically different way that we have to actually think and then align our behavior to that thought. So that is the crux of the work of what on earth is happening. And I'll let you ask some other questions. I just, that's the basic background about how I got into my work and what I do now to this day.
Well, damn, man, that's I'm so intrigued with everything you're sharing. It seems like it's kind of like trending right now, people learning about this, but I think it's kind of looked at, it seems like on social media, on YouTube, is kind of, people almost don't believe it. People don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe this level of evil. And I think those of us that are anarchists, already on this mindset, I think we're much more receptive to hearing about this, because it's scary for the average person to hear about.
Sure.
This level of just
and like you said, they don't want the world to be like that. They don't want that level of evil even to exist, because they imagine that other people wouldn't be that bad and do things like that. But it's a very slippery slope and a very naive approach to sort of try to ascribe your moral sensibilities to all other people. We have to realize there's a very dynamic range of morality that exists out there, all the way down to completely amoral and unmoral, all the way up to people who are very highly moral and really understand morality from a very deep perspective. And we can't imagine that that's just some sort of even distribution. It's a radical bell curve, okay? And we have to understand there are people who, without hesitation, would do things that we would never dream of doing. And also, another thing, a big misapprehension people have is that, it's all rich white men. No, it's not. It's a very eclectic variety of people. Again, as I said, it's people from all ostensible religious backgrounds and cultural backgrounds, and it is people from every gender. It is people from every social strata, financially, economically. There are not just rich people involved. It is not one race or color of skin. It is not one country or geographic region. It is a very eclectic variety of people from all over the world that share a common psychological ideology. One of the things I'm really going to be getting into in this seminar is how natural law fits into all this, and we have to understand that as being moral law. These are the laws of morality that govern the consequences of behavior. So as a society behaves more morally, we are moving toward a more free society. And as a society in the aggregate behaves more immorally, we are moving more toward enslavement and chaos. And this is the deep underlying aspect of the occult that they don't really want getting out. That's what I personally hope that you were referring to by some of this information, is getting out and making the rounds a little bit more, and people are thinking about this aspect of reality a little bit more, because there's so much moral relativism, and there's so much thinking that we can just behave however we want and we're going to be free. But there are, even in a state of anarchy, there are rules. See, anarchy means no rulers, no masters, and that's a state of freedom. But there are moral rules even within anarchic societies. The whole premise of anarchy, if it's going to stand at all, has to be built upon a moral foundation. It must be, okay? This is what this is ultimately all about. We are together recognizing the moral wrongness of a society that is based on having a ruling class and a slave class. And this is what occultism, in the dark sense, tries to do. It tries to obfuscate that distinction between moral and immoral. It tries to get us to be relative about it all. Okay, so talking about moral relativism and how poisonous that influence is throughout our entire society and culture is going to be it's going to be a very big point that is discussed in this seminar, in this workshop, in Demystifying the Occult Revisited.
Wow, Mark, I could listen to you all day. You have such an incredible way of explaining this, and I think this is a huge, huge missing piece in this entire movement. I'm so glad that you were here, part of Anarchapulco last year. I remember there was like standing room only at your workshop. People were just blown away. And I peeked in there a few times and saw like some of the symbolism you had up on slides. And I thought it was so interesting.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I think that what you present is so heavy. It's so intense. And as I'm listening to, part of me is in resistance to believe it. I believe you. I know it's truth, but I'm so conditioned. I'm realizing to just go, wow, this is so intense and so scary, but it's so important. I'm feeling like what you're offering our community is a huge gift. We all need to hear this because there's so many layers of unchaining ourselves, undoing ourselves,
Yes.
deconditioning ourselves. And I think a lot of us have to get to a certain point to even be in a place to embrace what you're saying. And I know me, for one, I'm really, really craving to learn more about this because as intense as it is and as kind of heavy as it is and kind of negative feeling, I need it to grow. So I think that the way you present it is really easy and really down to earth. So you're dealing with this stuff all the time. I mean, do you find yourself, are you a happy person by nature? This stuff's like really intense. Do you find yourself having to like search for things to bring you joy with all of this negativity?
A lot of people never get to asking questions like that. It's very personal and it hits home. And, to be very honest with you, it's very frustrating because when you understand the level of knowledge that's required to get humanity out of the condition that it's currently in and you see where it is at and you honestly gauge that, it becomes very depressing and frustrating. So I would say that I have happiness in my life to a certain extent, but I do not live for happiness in my life. And I can become very angry and frustrated and very despondent at times. But I try to balance it, okay? I don't know how great of a job I do doing that. I think I do an adequate enough job that I can stay focused and continue to do this work, which is what I'm here to do. But I try to find small aspects and moments of happiness in my life so I can at least stay centered enough to continue to do the work. That's how I would basically answer that question.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your honesty. And I, for one, really appreciate all the work that you're doing to help share this with us and educate us because it's so, so important. So I'm really grateful that you're coming back to Anarchapulco when you're offering a workshop. Can you tell us what the title is again?
Yes, it's called Demystifying the Occult Revisited, Initiation into the Mysteries. And it's going to basically really be 4 parts, sort of. Okay, it's really in 2 parts time-wise. It's going to be 9. This is taking place February 13th. That's one day before the actual conference begins. Okay, February 13th, 2019. And it's 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's 10 hours, right? Or is that, sorry, that's 9 hours, okay? It's going to be 2 4-hour sections with a 1-hour lunch break in between. So we're going to go 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., then take a 1-hour lunch break between 1 and 2, and then 2 to 6 p.m. The cost for it is $140. The tickets are available at anarchapulco.com in the tickets section. And this is basically a continuation or like kind of a revisiting and a slight refinement and advancement of 2 seminars that I gave earlier in my presenting career, you could say, which were called Demystifying the Occult. Now, part 1 was a simple breakdown of different occult traditions and symbology, and part 2 was a talk that I gave about Satanism and the dark aspects of the occult, what dark occultism is, and I talked about my involvement in that seminar. I'm going to sort of do both in this, but I'm really going to also combine it with a deep understanding of natural law and the moral relativism that's taking place in our society and how that relates directly to the inability to create a true anarchic society. And we have to really get that moral knowledge. So that's going to be like the heart of the presentation. I'm going to break down some occult traditions and symbolism, talk about the moral aspect in the heart of the presentation, and then toward the end I'm going to talk about the real occult controllers, their mindset, how they operate, how they perform the social engineering that they do upon society, and how we have to know them as our enemy. It's like sort of 2 phases, right? We have to know the self. That's what the occult, the real true light occult traditions are teaching us, to delve deeply into psychological knowledge of self and the universe that we are all a part of, okay? And that's positive information. right? Then we have to understand the morality is the heart of it, right? And the initiation into this, that aspect of it. I'm going to kind of tie all of this into what the initiatory tradition was. See, the occult mystery schools of the ancient world put people through an initiatory process. And I'm attempting to do no less through all of my work and through this workshop. This is just going to be like whetting the appetite for potential students that then they would have to go and delve into this on their own. They have to dive into the deep waters on their own. But I'm going to explain to people what the initiatory process was of old that is still going on in the modern day. And this 5-step process that began, I won't go through it all, leave that for the workshop, but I'll give you the first step is we have to stop lying to ourselves. This was the very first step of all the mystery school initiations of the ancient world. The initiate had to basically be willing to say to themselves, I am telling myself a false version of reality because I want it to be a way other than how it really is. Okay, and that was the very first step of initiation into the realm of truth and into the realm of the hidden that the mystery traditions of the ancient world taught the initiates. Okay, and that's where I'm going to start this presentation. The first step of initiation is we have to come seeking truth and saying to ourselves, I will not try to tell myself a false version of reality anymore. I will not look at the world through rose-colored glasses. I will look at the world through an objective lens and attempt to see it as it really is by aligning my subjective perception to the objective truth that is actually there. That's what our goal is to do as human beings. When we don't tell the truth about that objective reality out there, and we just want to say, no, the world isn't that bad, the world is what I want it to be, we're ultimately making the first error on the potential journey to truth, and that is lying to ourselves. So that's where this is all going to start. The initiatory process has to begin with self-honesty. And I'm going to build out the other steps of the initiation tradition from there, the other 4 steps. And this all ties in with the 5 sense reality that are windows to the world. And then I'm going to explain about the truth discovery methodology that the occult mystery schools taught people, which was the trivium process, which is something that a lot of people in the anarchy community have to learn about and apply to that methodological approach to truth discovery. Okay, so all of this is going to be part of the workshop. I'm really excited about coming back this year. I'm looking forward to the actual trip and staying in the area, which is very beautiful in Acapulco, and taking part in the conference and just getting together with all the other attendees. It was really good last year. I got to do a little bit of getting out into the ocean and swimming and body surfing. I hope to do that again this year. I love swimming. They had a beautiful pool at the hotel, so I'll look forward to kicking back and relaxing a little bit as well, in addition to doing the great work of attempting to teach people this moral and occulted knowledge.
Wow, Mark, you're such a gift to the event. You're a gift to the world. And I mean, just the information you shared in this discussion, it was amazing and mind-blowing. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I'm really, really excited to meet you in person. I know we never got to meet last year, so I'm looking forward
Absolutely.
to hearing some of
Dayna, thank you so much. Really great questions. Very gracious as an interviewer. I thank you for doing what you're doing and helping to organize the event.
Thank you so much, Mark. We look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Thanks, everybody.
You got it.
Bye.
Ideas about not wanting to use violence against people and not wanting to steal and extort them.
And they try to tell us that the liberty movement is dead. That's a bunch of baloney. It's alive and well.
All freedom is our natural and eternal right. In
shout this message about what real liberty and freedom mean, but for everybody.
And I think that we should start a revolution here today.
Peace, love, and anarchy.